Hello and welcome to Theme Park Information. In today's show we're going to do a park battle for the first time in absolutely ages, and this one is a classic. I first did this I think in like 2018, and that is Alton Towers versus Thorpe Park. I've fairly recently gone back to both parks, and I actually thought doing them as a park battle would be quite fun to see if there's been any change or update. Now for me, Alton Towers does definitely have a lot of nostalgia, but it's the same with Thorpe Park, and Thorpe Park is the one where I've kind of see it just generally really develop, especially in sort of the early 2000s, between like 2000 and 2009, it really did come in on leaps and bounds from what it was. Whereas Alton Towers kind of had a really good sort of basis with lots to look forward to, and they've been slowly sort of adding to it. They have also, it will be said, been taking some stuff away. So whereabouts are we at? So for roller coasters, what I thought I'd do is I'd probably give you like a top 5 between the parks, and then see who sort of has won that. So, in all honesty, the best roller coaster between them is Hyperion. Yeah, pretty simple. I would say Nemesis Reborn is like the second best. Love that ride, really intense, really good fun. Will say I potentially do appreciate the original version of Nemesis, just a bit more iconic, but they've done a really good job updating it. In third place, probably would go with Wicker Man. Yeah, love a wooden roller coaster, great theming, great use of space. Sad that it did replace the log flume, but generally a really good step. In fourth place, probably the Swarm. Absolutely love the theming of the Swarm. I think obviously the near misses are brilliant, really well sort of done. And I am a bit of a sucker for a wing coaster, in fairness. I think they're a really good roller coaster model. Very rideable, very comfortable, just generally like really good. And then probably actually you could argue the deciding vote, or deciding sort of one. I will be honest, I think it's Nemesis Inferno. This ride gets so much sort of hate's probably unfair, but I think it's a chronically underrated coaster. You've got like a really good layout. The pre-lift section's really fun. Good use of theme with the volcano. Really intense, really speedy, and just generally like I actually think it's really good. Like, it just doesn't get appreciated, I don't think. But yeah, I love it. I would say Thorpe Park probably does win the sort of the roller coaster battle. In case anyone cares, the Smiler would probably be 6th. I kind of have a love-hate sort of thing with that ride. I love parts of it, really dislike other parts. Even though I will say my last visit to Alton Towers is probably the best I've had the Smiler. Managed to get a front row ride, only queued for like 20 minutes. Which has not happened previously at all in the previous like decade or so it's been open. So yeah, that was a step in the right direction for it, but it does sadly just miss out. We're then going to go over to like sort of thrill rides, and this would have been so much closer when I originally did this video. Alton Towers has slowly been getting rid of them. Obviously they have added Toxicator, which is actually really, really cool. Even if me and my friend did go on it in the pouring rain, it was a lot of fun. Really long cycle on it. I don't know if it's normally like that or just because there was just no queue and it was just a case of you might as well put it on a long cycle, whatever. But yeah, that's a really good addition, and I hope they continue in that vein. They have obviously been removing their like sort of Enterprise. They obviously removed Submission quite a few years ago. They've removed the pirate ship, and I just feel they could potentially just go through and re-add those sort of attractions into those spaces. They have those sort of areas sort of almost set aside where you could put flat rides. Flat rides are such an important part of theme parks. They do so well in kind of spreading out crowds away from other coasters and stuff like that. They can offer great thrills, they can be really fun, they can also be really intense and scary. So hopefully Toxicator is the start of Alton Towers going back up. Sadly, Thorpe Park does have quite a lot of really good flat rides. You have things like Rush, Vortex, Samurai. Obviously they do sadly no longer have Slammer, which is one of my favourite flat rides in the country. Absolutely love that. I do appreciate why it closed. Obviously there was only 2 of those ever built, so I appreciate like spare components and other bits would have been very difficult to get to or really expensive to get to. But yeah, that's a real shame that has closed. Hopefully it does actually get replaced by something at some point, because that spot is a brilliant place for a really good flat ride. And I do think hopefully at some point they will update that area. But Thorpe Park probably does have enough overall to still win the sort of thrill ride sort of category. We're then going to move on to water rides. And again, when this video was first done, would have been a lot closer. Alton Towers has a really, really good rapid ride and has a really good sort of splash battle. Thorpe Park has a rapid ride, has like a really cool sort of like the depth charge is really cool as like kind of like a inflatable sort of flume ride. They do also then have, oh, that's a really good point. They do also have that absolutely awful like sort of second sort of like dinghy ride. Oh my god, oh, I really hate that. And obviously they've lost Logger's Leap as well. I think actually, originally I was possibly more aiming towards Thorpe Park on this one, but I think I might actually have to switch it up. I think I just prefer Alton Towers, for water rides at the moment. I mean, in fairness, neither park is really strong in that department, and it's something probably both parks really need to look into. I'll tell you what, I'm going to give it to Alton Towers. We're then going to move on to I'm going to describe it as extras, which I appreciate is a bit vague, but obviously Alton Towers has things like hotels, has an indoor water park, stuff like that. Thorpe Park obviously has like the Shark Hotel and stuff like that. It's pretty much just which park has more around it, and I think it's fairly obviously going to be Alton Towers. I did this pretty much, it has 2 hotels, indoor water park, both of which are really, really cool. I've stayed at both. Really good. I've actually, in fairness, never stayed at the Shark Hotel or anything like that, but yeah, it's still going to be Alton Towers. Alton Towers also has things like Crazy Golf as well. Thorpe Park, I don't think has it. If it does have it, they've kept it really well hidden for all these years. And I'll keep a lookout if someone does say in the comments that it does have one. I'll definitely do it next time. But as far as I'm aware, they don't have it. So yeah, managed to bring it up to 2-2. We can now move on to food, and this is a really awkward one because I would say neither park has particularly brilliant food, but I would say Thorpe Park has a few more sort of chain sort of restaurants, whereas Alton Towers kind of doesn't. I mean, don't get me wrong, Alton Towers isn't terrible for food. It just, they have pizza. They do have, in fairness, in their arsenal, the roller coaster restaurant, which I've done once and it's really, really cool. You just need a reservation for it, and I find that really frustrating. I was there on that day, the last time I was there. It was a cold, wet day where the restaurant was half empty. The park wasn't that busy. Just let me sit down and eat. My God, you don't need a reservation then. I absolutely appreciate on a really busy summer's day, the sun's out, and it's like a bank holiday, or the schools are out and the park's absolutely heaving. Yeah, fair enough. But right then, really annoying, really disappointing. I'd probably say Thorpe Park just, but then, yeah, there's nothing overly separating them. But yeah, I think usually as well with Alton Towers, I have definitely where it has really short hours. I've definitely had it where I've literally just had ice cream and nachos or something like that in the park. And that's been it. Whereas I don't really tend to do that at Thorpe Park. You tend to have slightly better hours. You tend to have more of an actual meal. So yeah, I'll give it to Thorpe Park. Not by much. We're then just going to have accessibility, stuff like that. And maybe get into the park would be a better way of putting it. And it's a really awkward one. So Alton Towers has both a good advantage and disadvantages in this. So obviously it is in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Good luck getting to Alton Towers. But once you're there, it's a lot of fun. And actually getting in and out of the park is not usually too bad. I've never usually had that much of an issue with it. Thorpe Park, I think, is one of those parks where it's having to pay for parking at the booth and stuff like that, and then as how it looks car park wise, I don't know, it just really annoys me. I just feel that Thorpe Park could do so much more with their car park, because it does leave just such a poor first impression. You have temporary cabins and stuff like that, and it's why aren't they a really well themed sort of building? Why haven't you really sort of stretched out and made the front entrance look really presentable? Why isn't there why haven't you, for example, used maybe a multi-story car park and stuff like that? I mean, it's a really awkward one because, as I say, but Alton Towers also then has the negativity of the fact that the car park is miles away from the front entrance, and yes, it does have a monorail, which is very cool, and you can walk, in fairness. As a top tip, walking is much easier, and if you actually have a membership, I think you can also actually enter the park by sort of Galactica, which is pretty fun, because you exit the park there, by the way, or you can exit the park there as a quick tip, which is really helpful. I probably would say Alton Towers, it's just more pleasant, like, just as I like the fact there's lots of trees. I like the fact there's obviously the monorail. Love the fact you can actually pretty much walk to the front entrance. I say, what's the sort of verdict on this one? It's a really awkward one because Thorpe Park is actually kind of massively improved in the last couple of years. And I say, it's got really good roller coasters, really good thrill rides. I do think it needs to update in the water ride department. It has slightly better food potentially, or slightly better food which is available easier is maybe the better way of putting it. I would say it would really benefit from having a really nice hotel, and it would probably also benefit from just absolutely improving their car park. It's just such a nightmare. It's really annoying me. I find it really depressing. But with that in mind, I would say it probably, even though the score might not add up, I've kept it pretty close. There must be, I would probably say that Thorpe Park is just ever so slightly better at Alton Towers at the moment. It has occurred to me that maybe I'm saying that, and then Alton Towers is technically one on the scorecard. But I don't know, let's throw in sort of like a few extra points. Alton Towers obviously has like the manors and the gardens, which is pretty cool, but not something I've overly done. Obviously, Thorpe Park, probably has slightly better theming for the most part. So we can list that. Alton Towers, kind of the manor house is definitely in need of renovation. And also Alton Towers probably has more reliability / operational issues, which really hold it back. Whereas Thorpe Park, obviously they've had a couple with Hyperia, but then I appreciate that is very much kind of like an absolute quality coaster, where it's probably still, it's mostly sorted, I would say. There's certainly been less issues this year than there was in its opening year. And I think some of it is just some slight design tweaks which have happened. But for the most part, Alton Towers tends to just be a bit more, operation and just a bit of a nightmare. I'd say the amount of times I have queued for like 80 minutes, and then the ride is broken down for like an extra like 20 minutes, half an hour, and then got on it has happened so often at Alton Towers. There was a day where it seemed to be following me around the park. Like, you go on 13, that would stop. You go on like Smile, that would stop, and stuff like that. And I also do feel, even though Alton Towers has a lot of world first coasters, they do tend to be a little bit like lacking as well. And I do also think Alton Towers has far more sort of dead zones, or like just ones where it's a bit one way, whereas Thorpe Park is a bit more better, easier to navigate, a bit better to navigate. So I do think overall Thorpe Park is slightly better than Alton Towers. Is the thing I'm going to go with. Like, we've scrapped the whole sort of sections of debate, and we've just gone with probably it's just Thorpe Park. Anyway, don't forget to leave your comments down below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content in the future.